Alright, we have our whole lineup of guests joining us now to tell you what to buy or sell at this point in time. But before that, let's welcome Sudarshan Sukhani, Mayuresh, Joshi, Kunj Bansal and Meghna Malkan all into our discussion. Before that, let's just get one word on DLF. This is important information coming in. It's an exclusive that our colleague Nayantara Rai is picking up in terms of where they will be raising their funds from. They're looking to raise about $1.5 to $2 billion, and they are in talks with 5 global private equity players in order to sell 40% in their rental business. Remember, this was their plan all along, that they will be selling a part of their rental business, and eventually they will be looking to list it in terms of REITs as well. And DLF has seen a very good move on the upside in the last many months because of successful deleveraging plans that the company has put forth. So we'll try and get our colleague. I
remember when Nayantara first broke the news, Sonia, DLF was 90 rupees. We were doing closing bell, and I remember that very clearly. And ever since that, of course, the stock has been re-rated, and you're seeing continuation of that story. So that stock is up about 3%. So we'll get Nayantara in a bit, but okay, is Nayantara with us? Okay, we'll go to Nayantara in a bit, but before that, how should you position yourself in this last hour of trade? Sudarshan Sukhani is with us with closing strategies. Sudarshan, good afternoon. Before we talk about individual names, Bull should be pleased with today's trading session as far as Nifty is concerned?
I think it's not a question of being pleased. There was a breakout, we went long and we are long. So the positions are intact. That's much more important, because once we start thinking in terms of pleasure, it would mean that the bulls will have to either affirm themselves, buy more. It's not like that. There was a buying opportunity only once at 8200. If you didn't buy then, you should buy now and stay. It also doesn't, sorry Anuj, I'll quickly explain. Yeah. It means I have no way, I don't have a high level of confidence that this market will go up further. I just know that I should be long.
Okay, so you know that you should be long in this market. So what should the individual stock-specific strategies be, Sudarshan?
Well, primarily we want to be on the long side. The banks have not done well today. Axis Bank has been a mild exception. So we'll go long in Axis Bank. In the morning we went long in HDFC and ICICI. So essentially we are going now having long positions in all 3 of the top private sector banks. So today's afternoon's pick is Axis. We go long in Axis Bank, go long in Biocon, which is now giving us signs of a renewed uptrend, and that's good news because pharma has broadly been outperforming. Today was a dull day, so within that dullness. And JSW Steel is a short selling idea.
All right, Sudarshan, we'll just stay on. I'll come back to you with JSW's target and stop loss. Before that, Group Finance numbers flashing on your screen. Net profit of 52 crore versus 43 crore. So that's an important company actually. You'll have some other numbers also flashing on the screen. But as of now, that's the only number that we have, net profit flashing at 52 crore versus 43 crore. I also believe we have Petronet LNG's management talking on their numbers. So let's just cut across to that as well.
Over the previous quarter before tax.
All right, Mangalam, thanks a lot for that. Sudarshan Sukhani is still with us, and Mayuresh Joshi also joins us for closing chat. Sudarshan, a word on Reliance and the way we've seen the big gains today.
Well, the gains have already come in, big gap up. Should we buy Reliance now for in anticipation of a momentum on the upside? My answer is I'm a little confused. I don't see anything on the chart that suggests that the gains will be built upon. So perhaps this is not a good time to enter it. Reliance actually enters into a bull market above 1050. That's a far way off, and currently there are no patterns otherwise. So just stay away.
Okay, Mayuresh, we were talking about Reliance on Friday, of course. Do you think this 5% move now prices in the Q2 performance, or would you expect some more gains?
Afternoon, Mayuresh. Clearly, I think the 5% move is taking into cognizance the kind of numbers specifically on the GRM side that Reliance has posted. But more or less, I think from here onwards, I think the structural shift will be seen on both these segments doing exceedingly well. So in our take, with the PETCO gasification coming through in the 4th quarter of FY16, the GRM should sustain for the greater part of FY17 and onwards. On the petchem side, I think though the off-gas cracker refinery has got delayed, our take is that the polymer chain has moved up quite nicely. So the margins there on the EBIT front should get maintained. Now what remains, Anuj, is probably the telecom part, where a huge amount of capex has already been conducted, and what really happens with the launch is what a lot of analysts would love to see. So I think the numbers would start flowing in from FY17, FY18 onwards. Any significant breakthrough there in terms of potential breakthrough in number of clients, in terms of market share, I think that is going to be a break-even point for Reliance as it comes to the consolidated earnings. So in our take, I think the numbers have been exceedingly good. We are very optimistic on this stock, and we retain a buy view with a 2-year perspective.
Okay, well, very optimistic on the stock. That stock has been the biggest gainer today. By the way, those are Orient Cement's numbers. Big fall in net profits, sub 30 crores versus 43 crores on a year-on-year basis. And the top line should also just come up for you. There's been a fall there as well to 356 crores versus 386 crores. So not looking good at all for Orient Cement. We'll take a short break on that note, but when we come back,
most EMs have had a very bad time, including some in Asia. So I think this gave a little bit of a comfort to market participants. But India will definitely be a beneficiary of it, and India is clearly among the best of all EMs.
Well, that's the word coming in from Pankaj Vaish of Citi South Asia. We'll get you his views on the flows picture and the levels to watch out for on the other side.
If you look at e-commerce, which separately, whether it's highly valued or not, is definitely a very massive negative on traditional, say, retail sector. Or if you're doing so many home delivery businesses, it is a negative to the current options that you have in home delivery. Or if you have solar energy globally coming down in prices, over time, I think the value of these utility companies, coal, reserves, things like that, are all going to lose value over time. So not only in the short term because of the fact that one part of the economy is not doing well, but in the long term because of these new technologies, the overall confidence that you will have in, say, 10-year and 20-year stories will be reduced. On a big picture basis, relative to the world, India has done very well, and there's a logical reason for that, because India is in a different cycle in terms of interest rates being cut and things like that. I think the government has not done the maximum that it could, but it has done reasonable. And my feeling is that at the end of the day, whenever we have tried to depend too much on the government, which I have not depended in the past, in a specific sector sense, people have not made money.
Hi, welcome back to the show. Well, the market is still flat with a positive bias, so up about 0.2%. But in the broader markets, there's so many stocks that are soaring away now. IFCI is up almost 50-odd%. NIT Technologies is up about 10%. So is Jet Airways up about 10-odd%. And of course, you still have some of the heavyweights like Reliance Industries that are sitting with hefty gains. But let's get you, okay, there's some news coming in from PTI. The government is mulling more FDI news channels. So that's the latest that we're picking up, and some of these news channels, TV Today, NDTV, are all spiking up over there. But we'll try and get to the bottom of this. For now, let's get you some market opinion. Lata Venkatesh caught up with Pankaj Vaish, the head markets of Citi South Asia, and began by asking him whether flows into emerging markets and India will continue going forward.
The global backdrop, you are correct.
Welcome back. Well, the mid-cap index is now at the high point of the day. In fact, the overall market is also again making an attempt. It's the last half an hour has been quite volatile, but the mid-cap space clearly is buzzing. So time to focus on our Monday special mid-cap mania with Nigel D'Souza. And the stock on his radar is a luxury resort company whose stock is trading higher by 35% since September this year and has occupancy level higher than the hotel industry. Nigel?
Well, Anuj, quite a few holidays coming up, so I said let's watch the stock. And in fact, as you said, stock has been on a tear from September 29th. It's higher by good 35%, and in fact, it hit its 52-week high just a few days ago. though in Friday's trading session, it did see some big profit booking. It was down close to around 7%. Let's run you through some details then, focusing on the shareholding pattern. The promoters have a good 75% stake, institutional holding as well, rather high. So it's a tightly held company if you just look at it. I was looking at the financials of the first quarter as well. Nothing too great, nothing too bad about it. In fact, if you just take a look at it, there was a growth of close to around 22% on the top line. Margins were more or less stable at around that 23%, while the profitability as well was higher by a good 23%. But for companies like this, you need to look at it quite a few details. So I'll run you through a few details about the company. Now, they have close to around 1.8, 1.9 lakh members, and that's a big growth if you look at it in the last few years. So that number, in fact, has come off a base of close to around 30 to around 40,000, around 8 to around 9 years back. So the CAGR growth over there has been 11% in the last 4 years. If you take a look at it, they are close to around 3,000 to around 5,000 members every quarter. That's the rough estimate that I've got if you just take a look at what they've done in the last few quarters. The accounting policy, when you pay for membership, upfront they account for directly 60% of what you have paid, and they incur a cost of close to around 30% in getting that particular membership. So the gross margin of there should be around 50%. The remaining 40% of your membership is amortized over the next 25 years. So at the end of it, at the end of 25 years, the members, their membership will be terminated after 25 years, but the resort is still with the company. That's one of the positives that we need to point out. In terms of ownership of rooms, 65% are their own rooms. The other 35%, they're doing some experiments, as well as they're looking at various locations. Now, other important points, as you said, Anuj, the hotel industry, these resorts, they have higher occupancy if you compare it with the hotel industry. The members as well, you know, the kind of procurement of members currently from digitals as well as referrals, they're getting close to around 53%. That number was only around 29% 3 to 4 years back, and 52% now they book online. So that's transparency more than anything, because at one point of time there were a lot of complaints that members are not getting their rooms and etc. So by members going ahead and booking online, that's showing faith that members now have in the system. If you just took a look at some of the positive, there's scope for big membership addition. All of us want a holiday. These are one of the options. Margin improvement, as well as I was telling you, digital as well as via referral. So then they're not incurring that cost in marketing as well as sales. That's the second positive. The service levels have improved. That's why you're seeing a lot of bookings online. And they had acquired this Finnish company. That's going to give them growth, and they can expand their wings into the international market as well. I was looking at various policies as well. And in fact, they're more flexible if you compare it with other global peers who sell these particular packages. In terms of negatives, urban macro environment doesn't improve. That's a big negative for sure. There have been various management changes in the last 2 to around 2.5 years. So that's as well a bit disconcerting. And the average rent per hotel room, if that falls, that doesn't look very good. And remember, the hotel industry needs to see high occupancy. Only then there is a play on companies like these, because otherwise the hotels will be offering you better discounts. Then there's no chance that there is a lesser scope for companies like these. Now, they have been going global. The international members are close to around 3 to around 3.5% in comparison to around 1% a few years back. Remember, in the United States, these kind of industries form close to around 5% of the total hotel industry. If that's the case, there's big growth potential, because India has a $18 billion hotel industry, and currently, in fact, it's only at around $20 million. So there is scope of improvement even over there. And as I said earlier, they're focusing on that Finnish acquisition. They're also targeting a lot of the NRIs moving to the Middle East. Back to you.
All right, now I feel like going on a holiday after all that talk.
Lata's listening, Lata. I'm telling you, Sonia, Lata's listening. She's going to grant everyone leave, I'm sure.
Okay, well, let's plan, right? No harm planning.
No harm at all.
And I also hear that MTDC, the Maharashtra Tourism, is going to tie up with Mahindra Holidays. So that could be another positive trigger as well.
Yeah, that's for people who travel local like me and domestic, not for you, not for Sonia, Ekta, Rima and the likes. I think me, Mangalam and Agam as well.
You can add me to the list.
No, no, I'm a good traveler.
I'm a registered member of Mahindra Holidays, and I'm a very happy member of Mahindra Holidays.
I in fact, I visited Pondi, and I had I had experienced Mahindra Holidays packages, but I went as a guest, so I don't know how exactly it works normally. It was a gift, a wedding gift. So.
Oh, come on, Nigel. We all know the international trips that you're planning. Okay, then. Thanks for pointing this stock out. Mahindra Holidays, a big mover over there. I think 40% in the last 12 to 13 months. But let's get back to the markets because we're seeing a lot of activity in the mid-cap space now. So, if you pull up a couple of these stocks like Syngene, Godrej Properties, they should come up for you. Both of these stocks are sitting at fresh 52-week highs. And in fact, Syngene is all set to report its numbers, its earnings tomorrow as well. So ahead of that, that stock is looking quite good. It should just be up for you on your screen in a bit. There you go. 52-week high on that particular counter. But Meghna Malkan joins in now to tell us what to buy or sell today for a reverse trade tomorrow. Meghna, what are you advising?
Hi, good afternoon, Sonia.
Hi.
My first call is a buy on Shriram Transport Limited. The stock is trying to break out of a consolidation phase with the higher time frame charts, and on daily charts trying to take support on 20-period moving average. Therefore, recommend a buy with a stop of 955 for a target of 979 on SRT. My second buy call is on Mindtree Consulting. The stock is strong. I think the higher time frame is showing good strength. Dips on daily charts are good opportunities to go long here. Therefore, a buy call on Mindtree Consulting with a stop of 1425. We can expect a target of 1476. Thank you.
All right, Meghna, thanks a lot for that. Well, a couple of mid caps which are now really flying. First is IFCI. That easily has been your stock of the day. 17% gain now on IFCI, and the stock that's surging in last 10 or 15 minutes of trade is actually Unitech. If you see that the chart of that one, it was trading about 2% higher when we started the show. It's now 5% higher. That's Unitech, as you can see on the intraday chart. In fact, 6.5% higher now on Unitech. But Varinder now joins us with some more buzzing stocks. Varinder?
Well, in Nigel's parlance, it's a smoking hot day. If you just look at some of these cigarette companies which are flying today, look at Godrej Phillips, that stock is up by nearly 17-18%, a fresh lifetime high for the company. Also, Golden Tobacco, that stock was up over 10%. Mid-cap gainers, you pointed out IFCI, Repro India up 20%, Aero Coated Products, Gujarat Siddhi Cement, Sagar Cements, RPG Life, TRF, that stock has been gaining. Shira Shipping up over 10%. Pokorna is one stock which is moving up, and these NIT twins, NIT Limited is up over 7%, and look at NIT Tech chart, that stock is up by nearly 14-15%, and was up by nearly 10% on Friday as well. Both the stocks are moving higher. Among small cap gainers, two stocks, based on news, Valiant Communication up 20%, and International Combustion, after that good numbers coming in, that stock is up 20%. But there are many other small cap stocks which are moving up today, and many new ones as well. Sakuma Exports up 20%, SIEL Limited also gaining in today's day, RA Drugs, Kiltech Drugs India, Pashupati Acrylonin, MB Polyans, NR Agarwal, new name which I heard today, Pondi Oxide, Umang Dairy, Uttam Sugar, Agro Granite, Majestic Auto, GK Consultants, Rasi Electrodes, Mafatlal Industries, Omkar Speciality, Shri Kalahasta Pipes, Mindtech India, Morpin Labs, Cords Cable, Kelton Tech, that stock has been just gaining since last many days, and Golden Laminates. Most of these stocks are gaining over 10% and good volumes.
Oh yes, thanks Varinder for that. By the way, from the frontliners, Dr. Reddy's is a stock that should come up for you. It has hit a fresh lifetime high today, and it's gained now almost 35 to 40% this year already. Dr. Reddy's, as you can see, is one stock that has been moving with so much strength. But let's count down to the end of trade. We have 10 more minutes to go. Kunj Bansal joins in for the closing chat. Mayuresh Joshi and Sudarshan Sukhani have also been sitting by with us. Gentlemen, afternoon to all of you. Mayuresh, I want to start off with you. I was just mentioning Dr. Reddy's, but we've seen a lot of the other pharma stocks also give very good gains. Is this a space that you would continue to bet on? And if yes, what would your top bets be here?
Sonia, again, I think being very selective in the pharma space, A, on account of the higher valuations that they are now deriving, and B, I think there is no denying the fact that the earnings growth will be quite good considering the kind of rupee depreciation that you've seen. And again, I think with the kind of strong A&DA pipeline that a lot of these pharma companies have got, they definitely hold their earnings potential in good stead. But having said that, I think if you look at the trailing valuations, I think Sun Pharma and Aurobindo is something that we still believe have some headroom left in terms terms of price action. Clearly for Sun Pharma, I think FY16 will be a washout year, and what probably happens beyond that with the resolutions at Halol, EBITDA margins probably getting back to normal, ROEs coming back to normal, I think that will hold Sun Pharma in good stead from an FY17 perspective. Similarly for Aurobindo, our take is that the injectables business is a huge business for Aurobindo. The management themselves expect 18 to 20 approvals to come through over the next couple of years, higher margin business, and the kind of acquisitions that they've done specifically with activists in that role, I think that should help them in posting a top line over the next 2 years close to 16,500 odd crores. So clearly I think Aurobindo and Sun remain our preferred picks. The rest again I think qualitative stocks. So Lupin has got a decent sheen in terms of price hikes taken recently, so you will see some amount of expansion happening on the EBITDA front. And similarly Dr. Reddy's, we had a strong buy rating at lower levels, but it has crossed our target price, so we'll wait for numbers to come through before we re-rate the stock.
Okay, Kunj Bansal is also with us. Kunj, good afternoon. Apart from Dr. Reddy's, the other stock that's hit new 52-week highs is Z Entertainment, and that stock has also seen big gains since those numbers. What's your call on the stock?
So I don't have a ready recommendation on this particular stock in terms of SEBI's guidelines. The only thing I can say is that the result has been very good, in fact better than expectation, and one of the most liquid large cap stocks if one has to take a straight exposure on the broadcasting space. Company consistently doing well, and probably that's the reason for the continued demand in the stock.
Okay, Sudarshan, what's your call on Z Entertainment? It was a stock that kept hitting new highs. Last month had a bit of a correction, but I think 2-week period correction was over in 1 day, and now we are back to new highs. How would you trade it?
I think I would buy it. Firstly, because I like to buy new highs, new 52-week highs. That's a clear message that there is a strong momentum and smart money is buying it. And then it is an outperforming stock. It's already gone through a correction, so it is not as if it is facing a correction in front of itself. So both the factors, correction behind us and 52-week highs tell me, but it's not a short-term stock. You have to hold it for a few weeks because it could stall, it could consolidate. In a few weeks' time, there are gains here.
Okay, well, Kunj, you know, the pocket that will start announcing numbers tomorrow is the two-wheeler space. Tomorrow is Hero MotoCorp, and then on Wednesday we have Bajaj Auto. What is your expectation from the two-wheeler bunch this time around?
So I think on a very broad basis, if I talk on the sectoral basis and within that two-wheeler specifically, the results will very clearly be in line with expectation. The monthly numbers that came in for the last 3 months of the September quarter are already known to us, and to that extent there hasn't been any surprise in the numbers, and that's the reason for me to believe that the results will be in line with expectations.
Okay, Mayuresh, what do you do with Tata Motors? That's gained, I mean, from the lows, of course, it's up 35% thereabouts, but from the high, it's still down quite a bit. What's your call on this stock, and even the DVR if you track it?
So clearly, Anuj, I think at lower levels, we did recommend a strong buy. And yes, I think it had corrected meaningfully for the rightful reasons. I think the Chinese volume degrowth did play out on the stock. And even in the quarters to come, at least from Q2, Q3, Q4 of this fiscal, you'll see the volume slowdown definitely affecting the overall volumes for JLR. But as the numbers suggest, I think ex-China, I think JLR has did extremely well. New launches have held Tata Motors in good stead. The trading strategy, the platform strategy is going to work decently for them. And assuming the new launches coming through, that will give them the operating leverage benefits as well. The Chinese Cherry JV plant over the next few quarters, once some amount of growth starts coming through, and we are assuming single-digit growth for China happening over the next few quarters, and even JLR EBITDA margins close to that 40% mark. Even if you assume that, I think Tata Motors at the bottom of the heap that it fell around 285, 290, did discount a lot. It has moved up significantly, so I think the numbers might be a little bit disappointing. The stock might correct, but still we believe, I think over the next 2 to 3 years, with new launches coming through, the operating leverage benefits for JLR would continue, and they would be able to regain market share. So yes, I think with that time period in mind, I think we remain optimistic, but again, buy on declines. I think the stock has moved significantly over the past few weeks.
Okay, so optimistic on Tata Motors. By the way, today will end up being quite a good day, not just because the Nifty has gone up 0.5%, but also because if you slice through all sectors, most stocks have gained. So whether it's Reliance, Bharti, Infosys, Sun Pharma, HUL, it was a secular run that you saw on the upside today. Sudarshan, how do you approach the Nifty now? You have been recommending going long on this market, and it's been 3 straight days of, gains for the Nifty. Do you continue to hold on to your long positions, and where do you place your stop loss now?
Yeah, we continue to hold on to our long positions because that's the breakout has just happened again after a sustained up move. It consolidated and then renewed itself. So there's no reason to get out. Day trading is a separate issue. Day traders get out and get in every day, so I'm not talking about them. Anyone who's holding a position would be well advised to hold on to it. The stop loss is at 81.50 now. We raised it, so if you enter at 8200, you have a very small risk and potentially a high reward. If you are entering now, your risk is wider, but there's no option. You still must be on the long side.
Okay, still 5 minutes to go for market closing. Mayuresh, telecom stocks, we've seen big surge in Bharti today. Is that a stock that you like at this price point, or would you avoid it?
So clearly, Anuj, I think it's moved a tad bit too much, and if you assume the regulatory environment going through, I think you're probably assuming the African operations not doing so great for Bharti. So if I take into account the African margins itself on the EBITDA front, should come anywhere between 18-18.5%. You're going to see some amount of hit happening on the tenancy part on the African business. On the Indian business per se, I think you're probably going to see some decline happening both on the ARPUs and the MOUs for Bharti, and generally the telecom pack as a whole. RPMs more or less flattish around 47.5 paise per minute, and that probably indicates that the volume traffic growth, specifically on the voice business, is going to be flattish. When you're talking about data revenues, I think you'll see some amount of significant uptick happening on that count, but the consolidated EBITDA margins also take a hit. The kind of spectrum payouts, the kind of capex that Bharti probably has planned, as has the other players in the telecom industry, is going to take a toll, and some sheen off on the return ratios, both ROEs and ROCs put together. So having said that, I think the stock has moved very decently. I might look at Bharti Infratel, from this space itself. I think cash-rich company, decent addition of co-locations. I think you're looking at cash flows coming through, and the tenancy ratio at 2.06 will see some amount of uptake as the 3G data print starts improving going forwards. So I think Bharti Infratel on declines would probably remain a preferred pick within the telecom.
Okay, Bharti Infratel would be a preferred pick, Sonia, today has been an extremely good day. Today has been that kind of a day which the bulls wanted. The market showed you breakout signs on Friday after a long range, and today in the first half the market didn't move much, but again the closing has been good, and the market is now closing at the high point of the day, which is always good news. So let's just take you through the market closing rates. As I said, it's the high point of the day now, 80 to 80, so that zone of 81, 82, 82, 25 is now well behind you. Reliance was clearly in the index stocks your stock of the day, up about close to 5.5%. So big surge on Reliance, and that was your biggest contributor as well in trade. Closely followed by Infosys, that stock was up about 2%, and that also contributed quite a bit. HCL Tech, remarkable turnaround intraday on that stock. In the morning, it was a top Nifty loser, and says one of the top 3 gainers, up about 2.5% on HCL Tech. Dr. Reddy's made a new lifetime high. That was not alone actually. Sun Pharma moved, Cipla moved, Lupin moved, so the entire pharma sector moved in today's trade. Z Entertainment made a new 52-week high in today's trade. Hero MotoCorp ahead of numbers was quite good. Lever moved, ITC moved, HDFC made a move. All of these stocks were higher, so it was a bit of a broad-based move. In the morning it was only about Reliance, but in the afternoon trade a lot of stocks moved. What dragged the market a bit? ICICI Bank clearly is still a problem stock for the market. This really remains the big drag, still down about 1%, and that meant that the Bank Nifty ended in the red on a day the market was up about 0.5%. Then of course you had ONGC, Tata Steel, Tata Motors. These were the biggest losers. Larsen and Toubro as well corrected a bit, but overall it was a good day for the index, and extremely good day for the mid-cap traders.
Oh yes, very good day, Anuj, and a lot of individual stocks made traders a lot of money today. Look at IFCI, 16% higher for that stock. Look at Jet Airways, 10% higher, and now a stock like Jet Airways has given you a 30% return in October alone. That's the kind of money you would have made had you bought Jet Airways at the start of the month. Of course, the Indigo valuations, the company is valued at 27,000 crores, so that has only given wings to a lot of these others like Jet and SpiceJet. Apart from that, you had Godrej Properties and Indiabulls Real Estate doing very well from the real estate space. So both those stocks go home with handsome gains. You have Syngene that comes out with its earnings tomorrow. That one ahead of the numbers is looking quite good, hitting a fresh 52-week high. So Syngene should also be up for you. NIT Tech had a very strong run today. IRB Infra rose. Escorts hit a fresh 52-week high. So in just a bit, we will get some of these names up for you. Escorts hitting a fresh 52-week high today. Amtech Auto as well was the big news maker earlier in the day, as the company said that they are resolving their NCD payment issues, and in the next 2 weeks itself there will be something on board. So Amtech Auto up about 8.5%. So those were the list of gainers. On the losing end, you had Adani Enterprises down 2.5%, Adani Power down 2%, SKS Microfinance in the red today, Suzlon down about 0.6%, and IDFC2 was a tad bit soft, down about 0.3%. But a good close to trade. The Nifty closes at 8270. The Sensex is closer to 27,400 now, and we've had a good run in the broader markets as well. But let's get back to our guests. Mayuresh, the big theme that's been playing out in the last many days is in the aviation space. Now we understand that Indigo will be valued at 27,000 crores in terms of a market cap. Do you think it makes sense for a long-term investor to buy into SpiceJet or Jet Airways now, or was that just a trading pop?
So clearly, Sonia, I think I've always maintained that these stocks are very difficult to understand in terms of the business model, and the cyclicality thereof makes even the cash flows highly unpredictable. Having said that, the buzz around the Indigo IPO has definitely propped up stocks like Jet and SpiceJet, and though I think a lot of positives can get played out in the quarter's results to come, with ATF prices coming down, they constituting 40% of their input cost, which means margin expansion should happen, but a lot more structural issues need to be addressed. I think the load factors need to consistently improve. Secondly, I think most of the companies are working on negative net worth. 3, I think competition intensity pressure is deeply on the cash flows, as I was mentioning earlier as well. And 4th, again, the kind of leverage balance sheets that these companies have got. So in my opinion, again, I think fundamentally and structurally, I think very few data points to play with in terms of numbers. But technically, I think the stocks have moved. They might keep on moving higher, even 10%, 15%, from the current levels.
So Darshan, a word on DLF. That stock also had a big move. Of course, it was news driven, but generally it's been in a good group.
Yeah, it has been, and it is possible that today's big, reasonably nice up move could be the end of a brief correction that DLF has seen. So if we see strength tomorrow, that would be a confirmation that the correction is probably over and the uptrend that we were seeing has resumed, and that tomorrow could be an appropriate day to buy it if you have proper context for it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, tomorrow could be an appropriate day to buy DLF perhaps. But Kunj, open question to you. What are the stocks that you are recommending for the long-term investor now in the mid-cap space?
Yeah, so 2-3 stocks wherein the results are expected, and unlike a general expectation that the result season is going to be weak, we expect even in the short term for these quarterly numbers for these stocks will be good. So one of them is the Hexaware from the defensive space. We have already seen Mindtree and Cyient reporting reasonably good numbers except a point here or there. Now this stock is currently trading at about 245 odd rupees, at which point of time it has a 4% dividend yield also. So the company's margins are close to 18%, the return on equity will go up to 30% plus, and currently available at a valuation of 14 times forward PE. So I think that's a very good investment opportunity for medium to long term investor. As I said, even the quarter numbers could be good, and if at all the short term investors could also benefit. The other stock moving from defensive to cyclical space is a company called Sangvi Movers, which is in the business of leasing cranes. Now this business had turned into losses some time back and is a clear case of a turnaround. In the last quarter, that is June, it had almost 100% rise in top line, 90% to be specific. And in fact, the profit moved at a far higher rate, and EBITDA grew 2.5 times compared to the previous year's same quarter. So again, the ROEs will from a negative zone to move up to 15% plus in the time to come, and the company will be seeing a growth rate of 30-40% in the top line. Business has been doing very well, and stock was at a peak of 400 rupees, now down to below 300. Has become very attractive in valuation terms as well. So I think these are the two ideas from two different, as I said, defensive and cyclical spaces, which look good for medium to long term investors.
Okay. So Joshi, a word on someone who wants to take a fresh Nifty trade. If the breakout is now confirmed and we are seeing these kind of days, would tomorrow be a good day to take long position on the Nifty?
Absolutely. Any day is good enough because we know where we are going to get out. We don't have a target. We let the market tell us how much it wants to go. So when that makes trading very easy. I told you the exits are at 81.50. Anyone who wants to take a position tomorrow should calculate the difference between his entry price and the exit. If he or she is comfortable, go ahead and go long. You know, these trends start with baby steps and then they sometimes build on themselves and then move up a lot. We don't know how this one will look like, but you must be inside.
All right, gentlemen, we will leave it at that. It's been a good day so far for the markets. In fact, we've closed with good gains of 150 points on the Sensex. So this truncated week has started off on a positive note. We'll slip into a short break, but the Maharashtra government has declared a drought in 34% of the state. Nearly 15,000 villages have received less than 50% of average rain.